time, so I'm very excited. I want to read some poems that I have never gotten a chance to read to an audience before. And unfortunately, I couldn't print out my poem, so I'll be committing the cardinal sin of reading from my phone. But this poem is called Obad. As nature's heads awaken, I hold my desire by the sacrifice, morning, florets in the light of solitude, sunshade emeralds crown the cynic eye, the overlawn of songbirds drawn endless to new sites for lovemaking, wings flitting with their wants in the open. By noon, I stand in the shadow passing, my own contrast, the absolute smallness of my living. There is something for me to become. Honeybees never stop for divine order, not once need to be told pollinate or life is short. One day, I want to be so certain that I am made to love that I never wait for command or even wait in the afterthought. I just carry along with it, my wonder, my wandering, whatever the world needs of me. Thank you. Thank you. Very generous. Yeah, so this is another poem that I have not gotten to read, and this is it's based off of my interest for the story of Narcissus, and I think Narcissus as a mythological figure, as far as mythology goes, is pretty misunderstood because there's the common misperception that he was so in love with himself, he was so enamored with himself that when he saw his reflection, he was just like shocked or in awe, and he fell into his own arrogance essentially. But it's not that's not necessarily the story. He kind of he didn't know what he looked like. He had never seen his face. So when he saw his reflection, he thought he was looking at another human being, and he fell in love with the intimacy of looking at another human being and having a gaze of mutual affection. So this poem is called Black Narcissus, and it's kind of about that intimacy. You would never understand the bounds of my love until you have been marked for death, death by desire, a live body, winged and caught in palisade teeth, lost pride struggling against the grain. Vermin preyed on my handsomeness, not beauty, but joy. So I figured this departure from body, rehearsed over and over again until my blood no longer startled, until I gave up on seeking escape. Once I traced the grooves of my back with an unfired arrow, mapped out the breakaways of my nerves, became immortal only in the sense that I could not love anything, living or dead. This was not a long ceremony, love's haunted language burning slowly under my tongue. As everything fell still, I was already by the pool of my fate. A search for meaning surfaced as an illusion of light falling to catch an exact entry in my body, only scars dimming in the twilight cradle. Like water, the intimacy of being alive will carry whomever is daring enough to trust it. Some days, I have no other choice but to open my eyes. That's Black Narcissus. Thank you. This is another poem that this is my most recently finished poem. I was thinking about the story, the life of John Coltrane, the music of John Coltrane, who's one of my favorite musicians, one of the most inspirational musicians to me. I was thinking also about the personal arcs of redemption that we construct for ourselves in life. And I was thinking about John Coltrane's redemption through music. You know what I'm saying? So this poem is kind of about that. And it's called John Coltrane Plays Giant Steps with No One Else in the Room. Giant Steps, of course, the song. I'm ascending up a spiral staircase with a price to my step. Steepness is my only worry, so I thought, but then I reckoned up my destination, nowhere fast. Don't ask me where I be going, I hardly recall the last place. Cities spurned me off before I played my ode to her mourning, half diminished. Me and my song, we took off like newspaper clippings, flying west in the westward wind, burning for an escape and then a joint to play, and then a way to lay down these troubles for good. I don't find love in places easy, so I improvise. Blow changes in a new voice, hit a stride with a sputtering rhythm, sun in my eyes like God wants something more from me and I'm too strung to find it. I try to be an instrument of my own longing, something to rock this misery to sleep before it rock me. But all I got is this shot in the dark solo, the one last chance to translate the static of my soul, a riff just pretty enough to put down the habit and pick up the pace and pray like never before. All my life, I've been striving for this tune I couldn't find. I had to live without it, and then I had to live within it. Make something of the notes on the page without mistaking a line for gospel. It's all about finding a feel that move you forward. Keep your cold feet a shuffle. This world betrayed me, and I still carry on with my song. That's how you know that I truly love it. Thank you. See, I'm bad at picking out deciding which poems I want to read beforehand. So I'll read this one. This is an older one. This is Henry Box Brown on Freedom. Henry Box Brown obviously gained notoriety for essentially arranging himself to be mailed out of slavery, like mailed in a wooden crate. So he was it's an interesting story, but he became an abolitionist and an esteemed speaker and all those things. But he arranged to have himself mailed from his plantation. Henry Box Brown on Freedom. Some of my passions I am unable to speak of. They are spells bound within a single chest, still animated like a score of pocketed coins. Each grief of mine becomes a new price of re-entrance, and I still visit from time to time, blood thickening at every point of bodily pressure. I have carried a heart heavy as a diseased dog, frayed by memory only a man of boundless love could ever hold on to, and only a man born free could ever forget. Freedom sings its contradictions sweetly. Escapism is first a carceral game, hollow space within a system that cannot implode. Just as tenderness is to the slave, so too is tenacity to the runaway, a human response to near unbearable tragedy. Our struggle to get free is a self-taught element of nature, impure as every ingrown bone that Darwin can count between space, narrow as each trunk-length cell in revolution, our desire for blushlight, our will to see life again tomorrow. And so that's one. I think I'll read just two more, if that's okay. And this one, excuse me. This one is the love song Redux. Maybe I am not in love with everything after all. I just can't bring myself to love whatever swallowed whole that brave-breasted meadowlark perched from my window edge this morning. But I can't not love it either. The thing about hunger is that it feels too much like emptiness. Bravo, good assassin. Any way you look at it, I was bound to rehearse the fine strings of this sorrowscape, plain as day crusting over the overlatched door, the tiny glass reflecting chimeras of flickering light through the halls I last wept, the charming spring of scented candles I lit expecting visitors that never came, the miasmic funk of heavy plumage, but I am not a hopeless romantic. My heart keeps beating and breaking and healing a shameless dance. I am more honest than you may think, and maybe even the lark would agree. I have made good on all my promises, and I promise I have made good on all my celebrations. They all begin with the rebirth of everything I have ever loved, the dew of leaves, the morning songs of birds again. So, thank you. I'm just gonna read this one last poem. This is an older one, and it's uh, it's inspired by Mr. T, who I'm really interested in for some reason. And it's called Mr. T on why he wears so many gold chains. Really, I pity the fool that lived like me, wrapping my hands into any shape other than a fist just to prove my worth, and still no one sees the difference till I swing them wildly, till I nearly collapse into the bloodthirsty monster of myself. Really, it ain't a man alive that know the real Mr. T. Only the showmanship, invisible manhood, the temper flustering into a tantrum of blind fury, the untamed beast in me raging for revenge. I done lived a life before they quivered to the sound of my name, knelt before idols that could not love me back, pledged allegiance to anything I couldn't destroy, beloved by only the sorrow I held captive in my heart until I could hear it speaking back to me. It ain't a man alive that know the real Mr. T. I ask strangers, do you love me? And they all say, as long as I can look deep into your eyes and see a cesspool of brokenness. So I became used to vesseling the white space between the blood red cobwebs within the shattered remains of my passions. We all need to feel loved, even if by the most unholy admirers. Any of these men would any of these men would put me beneath a patch of dirt and draw constellations of lies on my grave. So for now, I'm gonna be a bad man, but I ain't gonna be no dummy. I ain't gonna be no product of amusement or gimmick in all gold. Every night I cut my hands to the sky as a prayer for some God to cleanse me of my shame, but leave the sin. The smart man knows how to reconsider himself a sacrifice to something greater. A chain, chrome of gold spun sun honeycombed around my neck like an anchor to the earth. A blessing I could never believe life could improvise. I've only ever been loved in my dreams by a family of songbirds, picking moons of light and sugar from the sky and draping them around my shoulders until I am so bright that folks from far and wide know my name but get struck blind up close. This is all I know true love to be. The business of God making, the art of finding new ways to silently proclaim resurrection. For once, I have chosen to testify. Praise be to the shimmery riot neckling my chest, to the diamonds and carats and kaleidoscope of heaven envow with me until the smoke blows, until I die vested in so many chains that it takes a nation of millions to hold me up. Thank you. That's my last poem.